we got a article about the Putin's visit to North Korea, and I'm actually gonna look it up. I'm gonna look up the Putin with Kim Jong-un in the taxi because I just want to see it. I just want to play it here. Fuck. Wait, I actually have it liked. Yeah, I have it liked on Twitter. Okay. Let's see. Likes, yes. The new season of Top Gear is insane indeed. Oh yeah, so these two have met, and yeah, we've seen some videos. We've even seen the waving goodbye video. I'm gonna maybe find it for you, but I mean, oh yeah, I'm gonna find it for you right now because I'm that good of a guy. We are back, and I'm gonna play this video. You won't hear anything on the video if this makes a video, because I always mute the browser for copyright reasons. I don't want to deal with that nonsense. So apologies for that, but you can watch it yourself. So yeah, we're just gonna watch this real quick. Yes, we have Vladimir, Putin waving, Kim Jong-un waving. I don't know, it's just very funny, just how they're waving. Like, when was the last time you were waving like that on your friend or your family or like that? And they still keep waving. They still keep waving. And they are still waving. The legend says they are waving even today. So yummy. Putin was there to sign some deals. I believe some bilateral agreement as well. That, considering how magnanimous was his visit there, one would assume the Russians are going to give North Koreans some modern military equipment, maybe even some nuclear arsenal. Or they will probably give them technology to build a nuclear weapons. Possible. It's very possible. Okay, I'm not going to go into comments. We are not in Twitter Bazaar yet. I don't have anything for this, but I'm gonna put this here in the Twitter Bazaar in case it actually does not make it into the video. So we're gonna have at least one, so we can go back. There we go. Russia-North Korea pact could dent China's influence, but Beijing still holds sway over both. Yes, this is also a theory that the Russians are making friends with North Korea and are supporting them this way to actually lower the Chinese influence, because China is definitely supplying the Russia with a lot of funds in exchange for the resources, and is probably supplying them with weapons and ammunition secretly. So the Russians want to make some bilateral agreement with other countries to reduce the Chinese influence, because obviously if this would keep up, the Russians could end up as a Chinese puppet state, which is something nobody wants. If China would gain a full control over Russia, they would gain control over like 6 or 7,000 of nuclear warheads, and that's, yeah, the world does not want that, especially if the Chinese are actually preparing to retake Taiwan, as some rumors say. Of course, those are unconfirmed rumors, and hopefully the Chinese will never invade the island, because that would very likely lead to World War III, which is something none of you should want. So let's read it. We got Beijing AP. With no obvious options, China appears to be keeping its distance as Russia and North Korea move closer to each other with a new defense pact that could tell the balance of power among the three authoritarian states. Experts says China's leaders are likely fretting over a potential loss of influence over North Korea after its leader Kim Jong-un and Russian President Vladimir Putin signed this deal this week, and how that could increase instability on the Korean peninsula. Of course, the Chinese also have quite a bit of influence over the North Korea. They provide them with humanitarian aid, I assume, with weapons and technology to build a little bit more modern equipment. And the North Koreans send their hackers to learn in China how to hack. Then they come back to North Korea and steal cryptocurrencies and do other heists online. So China is also a bit fretting about losing the influence over North Korea as well. Beijing may also be struggling to come up with a response to what could be the strongest Russia-North Korea partnership since the Cold War, because it has conflicting goals: keep peace in the Koreas while countering the US and its Western allies on the global stage. Yes. Beijing so far has not commented on the deal, which requires both countries to provide defense assistance if other is attacked, and only reiterated boilerplate statements that it seeks to uphold peace and stability on the Korean peninsula. An advanced and a political settlement of the North-South divide. I did also hear there was another intrusion to the demilitarized zone between North and South Korea by the North Koreans recently again. We're not going to be reading about this, but maybe some of you in the comments might actually put the article for it there, if the YouTube does not put it down, obviously. The Chinese response has been very weak, said Victor Cha, Senior Vice President for Asia and Korea Chair at the Center for Strategic and International Studies, adding that it could be a sign that Beijing doesn't yet know what to do. That's possible. Every option is a bad option, he said. You are either unable to make decisions because you are very strongly held competing views, or you're just incapable of making a decision because you just don't know how to evaluate the situation. Some in Beijing may welcome the Russia-North Korean partnership as a way of pushing back at America's dominance in world affairs, but Cha said there is also a great deal of discomfort in China, which doesn't want to lose its sway over its neighbor to Russia, and doesn't want to see a destabilizing nuclear power on its doorstep. They do not view Russia this way. And doesn't want to bring the conflict in Europe to Asia. But China isn't raising these concerns publicly. They don't want to push Kim Jong-un further into the arms of Vladimir Putin, Cha said, referring to the leaders of these two countries. Russia and China has already signed the friendship pact before the invasion of Ukraine, and that has not changed, even though China may have been a little bit skeptical of Russia on the open political scene. Behind the closed doors, they still support them, as they view Russia both as a partner and second as an opportunity for a potential puppet if their influence grows over Russia. Lin Jian, a spokesperson for the Chinese foreign ministry, declined to comment on the new agreement. The cooperation between Russia and DPRK is a matter of two sovereign states. We do not have information on the relevant matter, he said, referring to North Korea by the initial for its official name, the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. John Kirby, the White House National Security spokesman, told the reporters that the pact between Russia and North Korea should be of concern to any country that believes that the UN Security Council resolutions ought to be abided by. Nobody gives a shit about United Nations, and you should know that considering your support for Israel. The Security Council has imposed sanctions on North Korea to stop its development of nuclear weapons, and North Korea is probably going to achieve that in this decade, most likely, if their cooperation with Russia keeps on going. Yes. Kirby also said the agreement should be of concern to anybody who thinks that supporting people of Ukraine is an important thing to do, and we would think that the concern would be shared by the People's Republic of China. China doesn't give a shit about you. One area that China could be concerned about is whether Russia will help North Korea's weapons program by sharing advanced technology, said Alexander Gabuev, director of the Carnegie Russia Eurasia Center. Most likely yes, considering just how grand was the welcoming of the Russian president, just how majestic was all of it. Like, you probably saw some photos or videos. Like, you're not going to get this sort of an welcoming for nothing. Even if it's like your first visit after like 25 years. Like, there's definitely something in it for the North Korea, something very good for North Korea. If China is indeed concerned, it has leverage in both Russia and North Korea, and it could probably try to put some limitation to that relationship, he said. The Chinese had known about this deal probably for a very long time. They would have said something. Like, this is like they are assuming that the Chinese has also learned about this friendship pact, the day it was announced, like yesterday. No, they probably knew about this for many months before. Like, this is very silly and naive to think that the China would not know if the Chinese and if the Russians and the North Koreans would try to become closer partners. They probably knew about this for many months. The meeting between Putin and Kim this week was the latest chapter in decades of complicated political and military relationships in East Asia, where the Chinese Communist Party, once an underdog, has emerged as a leading power that wields influence over both North Korea and Russia. That and other developments have raised alarm in the US that Beijing, now the world's second largest economy, could challenge the US-led world order by aligning itself with countries such as Russia, North Korea, and Iran. Beijing has rejected that allegation. Sun Yun, director of the China program at Stimson Center, said Beijing doesn't want to form a three-way alliance with North Korea and Russia because it needs to keep its options open. Yes, they probably don't want to form the Axis because lessons of war, they know how it ended the last time for Germans. In attrition war, the NATO would still beat this tripartite pact. Even if Iran went in and some other nations, it would still beat them. They need someone like India on their side, or someone like India to be neutral, or stop trading to the Western nations. Then it would be then it could turn into a coin flip. And the crucial region would be the South America. If the Chinese were to gain an influence in South America to the point that the countries would sign military with them, then the US would be screwed, because they would have to invade the entire South America. They would have to station hundreds of thousands, if not millions of soldiers there, just to keep it safe. That would have completely drained out the United States manpower resources, and they would have to introduce a mandatory conscription, which is something most of Americans does not want, and that could theoretically threaten a major trouble for the US regime. Such a coalition could mean a new Cold War, something Beijing said it is determined to avoid, and knocking itself to Pyongyang and Moscow would be contrary to China's goal of maintaining relationships with Europe and improving ties with Japan and South Korea, she said. Indeed, China also wants to economically dominate the European Union. They want to increase their influence over the European Union economics, to have the European Union be very dependent on China, which could also cause a friction in the NATO. So, I mean, yeah, there's a 60, 70, 80 chess going on in the state of the world geopolitical, scene. Closer ties between Putin and Kim could weaken Beijing's sway and leave it as the biggest loser, said Danny Russell, who was the top US diplomat for Asia in the Obama administration. No. That's a very naive thing to say. That is very naive. This maybe seems like this for the Western nation, however, for them, no. If this was the case, then they would have discussed it with Moscow beforehand. Apart from irritation over Putin's intrusion into what most Chinese consider their sphere of influence, the real cost to China is that Russia's embrace gives North Korea greater impunity and room to maneuver without consideration to Beijing's interests, he said. Yes, that seems to be the case, considering the intrusions to the demilitarized zone on the North-South Korea border. Also, now Vice President for the International Security and Diplomacy at the Asia Society Policy Institute, said that Kim is eager to reduce his country's dependence on China. Yes, understandable. The dilution of Chinese leverage means Kim Jong-un can disregard Chinese Beijing's call for restraint, he said, and that is much more likely to create chaos at the time when Chinese leader Xi Jinping desperately wants stability. Yes, China want to have a stable economy, growing economy, so they could invest more into their army for their possible invasion of Taiwan. Possible. Hopefully it won't happen. Because we all know what would happen afterwards. So this is the end of the article. Definitely an uncertain times for the world. It is logical that Putin and Russia are looking for new friends, new economic partners, military partners. They already get a lot of Shri drones from Iran, and they could get much more ammunition from North Korea, which actually in paradox kind of reduces the chance of any open conflict in North-South Korea when you think about it. If the North Korea is selling their ammunition reserves, it kind of lowers the threat of the war erupting on the Korean peninsula. Even though they would get probably some rockets, people argue, that's simply a very silly argument to make us. The war in Ukraine showed you need a lot of artillery ammunition. And if the North Korea is selling that ammunition and they watch what's happening in the Ukraine, then this more signals that the North Korea is not looking for an open conflict, and they are looking to mainly up their military force, modernize their force, get some shiny weapons, flex those muscles on South Korea. But it does not seem they want war in any near future. So yeah. Moving on. This was a long article.